So students, welcome to our very last lesson. Let me check whether we have enough volume. But welcome to our very last lesson, and this lesson is on examination skills. It is scheduled to help you prepare yourself for the forthcoming end of semester exams, most likely early January 2024. So before we look at what is there, what I've prepared for you today, I hope that you have been able to read the announcement that I've placed here. And I want you to note that the Cat 2 will be open tomorrow from 5 to 6 so that you can be able to undertake it. Ensure that your phone is in good condition, that you have stable Wi-Fi, so that you do not have any excuse at all of not undertaking the cut. It is important to note that there will be no makeup cut after this because every effort is being made to ensure that you can undertake the cut. If unfortunately you left and have gone home, then ensure that you are in a place where you have stable internet so that you can be able to undertake the cut. Because should you not undertake the cut because you are away, that is your own fault. The semester is not over, so it will be your own fault that you left before time. I also want you to note that the semester results are released in the following way: that you have your cut marks and you have your end of semester exam marks. If you read our course outline, it says that your cuts will make up 30% of the mark, and the end of semester will make up 70%. So you cannot work on 70% alone. It must be accompanied by the cut marks. So if there are no cut marks, if you did not undertake the cut, then you do not qualify to receive your marks. You will have to undertake the course again and receipt the cards when they will be offered before you can then proceed to the second year. That means you'll be hanging. You'll do your second semester first year, but you'll be hanging when you get to the end of second semester first year. You will not be able to proceed to second year. So take this very seriously and ensure that you tell your friends, relatives, next of kin that they must undertake the cuts. Now, Kenya is an examination-oriented or has an examination-oriented education system, meaning that a lot of what is said about you or what is known about you emerges from the way you perform in your exams. Exams have been said to be a very effective way of measuring how well you have understood content, how well you have been able to grasp it, and how well you've been able to connect it with what you already know. Exams are a way of ensuring that actually there is something that you have grasped. And so we're asking ourselves, why examinations? We're saying to assess whether or not we have learned properly, to act as a feedback to both you and the teacher or you and the lecturer, feedback on what you have learned. So that for you, it will confirm to you that you have learned. For the lecturer, it will confirm that something has been learned. And number 3 is to show how more qualified in terms of competition and certification, who is more qualified, because there are people alongside you who are undertaking the exams. So the qualification will be in terms of the certificate, and the distinction will be between one person and another based on the certificate that you receive. And this certificate emerges from your performance in examinations. So students who feel that they should only learn continually and not undertake any exams are cheating themselves, because we will require the certificate to be able to promote you to the next level. And in Kibabi University, we take this very, very seriously, in the sense that you cannot proceed to another year, another academic year, if you have not satisfied the requirements in terms of examinations for the previous year. So that means you must have a transcript that says you have no missing mark. And missing marks majorly emanate from students who do not undertake the exams, or who think that examinations are not something to be taken seriously. So one of the reasons why we have examinations is to qualify you for the next level. And the examinations also prepare you for the conditions outside in real life, because in real life you'll be put in situations where you have to think, you have to stretch your imagination, you have to put your information you have into use, and part of this happens beginning from the examination. And it's also a guide for you to work hard. Sometimes people never work hard if they have nothing that is examining them. They have nothing that is pushing them. And examinations will push you to work hard. They will push you to think widely. They will push you to grasp information. They will push you to seek for information. And that is why we have examinations. And as it is now, Kenya continues to be to have an examination-oriented educational system. So you do not expect that anytime soon you will stop having exams. You will continue to have exams in some way. Even the CBC has a way of assessment of what learners have been able to gain. Now, examinations are not the first thing we meet when we get into a semester. Usually when we begin a semester, or we begin a term, if it is in these other levels of education, we begin with other things. But then we have what we do every day that helps us to make our preparation for the examination. And some of these points are what you do. One of them is to listen to specific points during lectures. And that is why it is important, for example, in Kibabi University, that you must be able to attend 80% of your lectures. The reason is to allow you an opportunity to be able to listen to specific points that relate to the content matter that your lecturer is handling. Otherwise, if you do not do that, you will not build a knowledge base of the area that you're studying. So you come to listen to your lecturers, either online or on face-to-face situations, but the intention is for you to get the points, the ideas, the direction in which the content is moving. Number two is for you to be able to take, another preparation is for you to take clear, well-organized notes. So you prepare yourself for examinations by taking clear, well-organized notes. These notes later on become your point of reference. So you come to class, and sometimes I see students coming to a lecture room just walking with their phone and their earphones, and they are not carrying anything that will help them to take any notes. Those are students who do not understand why they are in an institution of higher learning. In an institution of higher learning, it is important for you to be able to take notes. When you take notes, we have already looked at that and said that it helps you to put together information. So while you're in the lecture room, the lecturer may not say take notes, because you are expected to know that it is your business to take notes. So you come with your book, with a pen, and a place where you're going to be holding your notes, your notebook, so that you can be able then to take notes. I want you to note that we are talking about well-organized notes, meaning they should have a date, they should have a title, and then there should be a flow of how the information is relayed to you. If there are points, then they should be very clear. If there are references to certain books or texts, then that should also be part of your notes, so that later on then you can be able to revisit, you can be able to go to the library, you can be able to consult that text or that journal and be able to pick the information that your lecturer may require that you put together so that you build a knowledge base. And number 3 way of preparing is by reviewing and consolidating your work on a weekly basis to develop your memory. When you come to the lecture room, let us say the lecture room is scheduled for 3 hours. What you'll be doing there is majorly listening, taking notes, and sometimes the lecturer may decide that you have a group discussion or a group presentation. So after that, of course, you go to another lecture, or there are things you need to do in between. You never really get time to sit down and look at your notes. So it is important that you make a way, or you create a timetable in which you can be able to sit down with your notes. Notes, let us say for a whole week. A week you have done several lectures. Sit down with those books, those notes, and review them. And remember, when we were looking at study skills, we said you can review them with a colleague, you can review them in a group, you can do your self-study, so that you are reading the notes by yourself and trying to make brief, short notes, which you can then be able to quickly look at when you are in need of understanding of a topic. Another way of preparing for exams is reading textbooks. So these are things we do any time of the day and any time of the week. We're saying you are preparing yourself for exams. You know that exams are based on, or they seek to examine your understanding of a topic. This understanding can be built from you reading textbooks. So by reading textbooks, going to the library and borrowing, and I've already taken you through library skills. The intention is to help you now be able to borrow books, read them, using the techniques that we examined, the techniques that help you be able to read and understand and retain information. And then you will have information which you can then use in answering an examination question. So reading textbooks is also another activity that you can engage in the process of preparing yourself. Another is by engaging in group discussions. We have already labored on this in the area of study skills. We said that groups have a way of providing you with the support you need. Sometimes the lecturer has explained in very technical terms. They have explained, perhaps they went so fast you did not grasp what they were talking about. But usually there will be someone in the group, or together as a group, you can be able to put this information together, consolidate it, and begin to build an understanding. So working in groups becomes a way of preparing for exams. And I'm sure that this far in your stay in Kibabi University, you have been able to see how our students work in groups. They are outside there in the trees, in the student center, and in many other places in groups. Usually they seek to understand the content that they have learned. So you must also begin to practice that, because this is not a secondary school where you'll sit alone and begin to read your notes. This is a place where you must work in unity with other people, because by doing so, you get a better understanding. You get a wider view of the issues, and then you can be able to explain them or even apply them in the form of an exam question, or even out there when you begin to work. Another way of preparing for exams is by doing assignments. And it is important for you to note that some of the assignments that you're given in class to do in form of group work or even individual work, some of those assignments find themselves later on as examination questions. So when you are working together with others in a group, you are preparing yourself. You're getting an understanding of how to handle a certain topic. And if in the event that it finds itself in the exam, you have an advantage of being able to explain it, of being able to score in it, and being able to perform well. Sometimes students have the tendency, when they have been put in a group, they have the tendency to say, just add my name to the group, but they have not participated. you will be cheating yourself when you go in that direction. The reason is, as your name is being included, you have not participated perhaps in looking for information, in putting this information together, in asking questions and trying to understand. And therefore, when such a question finds itself again in the exam, you realize that people are writing, but you have no single idea of what needs to be done. So engaging or participating in assignments, tutorials, and even projects is another way of you preparing yourself for your examination. And finally, we have the revision of past papers. You have come from a system of where you were learning in secondary school. I know at a certain point, your teachers went ahead to introduce you to how questions are set, the expectation of the examiners, and what you need to do to be able to collect adequate marks for each question. Now, when you come to the university, no one will take you through that. So you have to carry on. You have to carry on the habit that your teachers began. Look for past papers. And our past papers are found in our library. Our past papers, you can also access them. If you have friends, relatives, next of kin, you can borrow these past papers. And then how do you work around them? Remember when we were looking at study skills, we said you can use those question papers to do revision as a group. Because you have the notes now and you have the questions. You can look for the answers that satisfy the question. And in so doing, you're also preparing yourself to have an understanding of how does each course, what are the questions that are asked in each course? What are the demands by the lecturers of each course regarding the kind of understanding you have of that content? So it is important for you to know that when you are learning and when you are preparing yourself for examinations, there is something that comes up and it's called examination anxiety. You have some tension because you do not know whether you perform well or you not perform well. You are not usually very sure that you are adequately prepared. One of the things that needs to be done is you need to look at all these activities that I have presented here and others. Those are the activities that will make the tension to come down. When you know clearly in your mind that you have done all your best to prepare yourself for the exam, then you'll have some level of confidence to sit down and attend to the exam. Students who do not do these things that I've listed here usually end up in the exam room feeling uneasy. And sometimes when they feel uneasy, they begin to do strange things. They begin to carry illicit material into the exam room. They want to ask for help from their colleague. They want to fidget around and even look at their phones. But I wish to tell you this, that Kibabi University takes very special concern regarding how examinations are done. And so, if you find yourself having been overtaken by anxiety, it is because you have not prepared yourself. And so, now that we have a break in between before we get to our main exam, it is important that you prepare yourself adequately. Do not find yourself in a situation in January where you're sitting in the room, people are writing and you have nothing to write, or people are writing and you want to look at your phone, or people are writing and you have carried small papers. I want to tell you that if something like that happens, Kibabi University will penalize you. They will send you home for a whole academic year. So you'll have 5 years when people have 4 years. And if it becomes worse, they'll even send you away for 2 years. So it is important that you prepare yourself. Reduce the anxiety by doing these things. Revise the past papers, participate in assignments, tutorials, and other projects and group discussions. Read textbooks around your area of specialization. Review your notes, which you have written in the lecture room. Take clear, well-organized notes, and also attend your lectures to listen to specific lecture points. Those are some of the ways in which you can reduce examination anxiety. Now, scholars have come up with ways which they suggest can be useful for you in terms of preparing yourself, reading your notes, especially reviewing your notes. One of the things you can do is summarizing the notes. Remember, you have been writing. You have been writing in the lecture room. You have been writing when you get your textbook or you found a textbook and it has important information. You have copied that information or you have written the points down. When you're preparing yourself for the exam, it is important that you summarize this information, pick the key points, because when you do that, then your mind will be able to remember easily. Remember the point, and then you begin to work on the details of that point. So summarizing notes is an important technique that you can use when you're reading your notes and when you're preparing yourself for the examination. Another technique you can use is rewriting the notes. Sometimes it becomes very difficult for one to concentrate on what they are reading. A technique that can help you in such a situation is rewriting the notes. That means as you rewrite the notes, you're forcing your mind to be able to focus on what you're writing and to be able to remember. That is one of the techniques that you can use easily. The only challenge is that you'll end up with two copies of the notes. But the beauty is that you'll have helped your mind to focus on what you're reading and to focus on what you have in your notes, and then to be able to remember them later on when you require it. We also have a technique called PQRST. P stands for preview, Q stands for question, R stands for read, S stands for summarize, and T stands for test. Now, what needs to happen is that you have your notes or you have your textbook and you want to read it. It is important that you preview it. In reading skills, we call it survey. Here we're calling it preview. That means you look through the notes quickly to see what it is that is contained, what are the various subtopics, what are the topics that are covered in the notes. And then you develop questions. Remember, we talked about developing of questions. We say these are not examination questions. These are questions that are constructed alongside the subtopics, alongside the topics, to show or to guide you in your reading. You can have a question like, what does this topic imply, or what does it mean? Or why certain points have to be done or undertaken, or certain actions have to be undertaken for a certain conclusion to be found. You ask yourself questions, and these questions are WH questions. They include what, why, when, who, which, questions like that. So you're setting the questions for yourself before you begin to read. And then you read, that means you go through the content. You've set yourself to look at a chapter. You've set yourself to look at a topic in your notes. Read the notes and then summarize. Write down the key points in response to the questions that you had asked. And then test yourself. Try to see whether you can remember this information offhand. That means you recall, you say them out in a way that you can be able to see whether you have an understanding of what you are reading or not. Now, using these techniques will help you to put information in your long-term memory. It will help you to put information in your long-term memory. Information that is in the long-term memory can be recalled when you read it. Now, we have progressed up to the night before the exam. There are certain things that you need to do the night before the exam. The first thing is to check the examination timetable. That means you need to have the examination timetable with you, copied down or on your phone. But the best is to copy it down so that you can be able to clearly see the date, the venue, the time, and the paper that is being undertaken each day. So that you know that if it is on a Monday from 9 to 11, you will be undertaking a certain exam. The venue will be, let us say, Auditorium C. And the time, of course, you have the time and the date. Very important. We have had cases of students who forgot that an examination was taking place, and they find themselves now arriving when the exam is over or when the exam is just about to end. Usually you are allowed to come into the exam room not later than 30 minutes after the exam has begun. And some lecturers will not even allow you to come in 10 minutes after the exam has begun. So if you find yourself having confused the timing or even the exam itself, then you are in deep trouble. There is no one who will believe you that you did not know when the exam is, or you do not know the venue, or you did not know the date for the exam. You will have lost it until the next time the exam is offered. So it is important that you have your timetable well copied out. Write it down, write the course codes, even the course titles, the dates, the time, the venue, so that you are very clear in your mind. And as you go along, you can then be crossing out to show that this is an exam I have undertaken. Some people have even confused the venues. There are a number of rooms in Kibabi University. Those rooms usually are the lecture rooms. But when the exam time comes, they become exam rooms. Now, it is important that having stayed on the compound, you have an idea of where the rooms are. So you should be able to locate them. And if you cannot locate them, then at least collaborate with someone who you know is in the same course, so that together you can go and look for those rooms, identify where they are, and then be able to find your way there on the day of the exam. If not, then at least know some of the faces of your colleagues. Sometimes people enter into a room, they can see everybody's a stranger, and they still sit in that room and want to undertake an exam. They're even given a strange paper. They don't know the course code. They don't know the course title. They are given a paper and they begin to do, only to later on say that I did the wrong exam. Those are things, or those are excuses that no one will listen to. So it is important that you know the exam itself, the course code, the course title, you know the venue, you know the date when it is being done, and you know the time when it is being done. Number two, you need to organize the necessary equipment. There are some exams, some courses that require rulers, some courses will require calculators and special gadgets. Most of the exams will require you to have a pen. So it is important that these things are in order. You don't reach the exam room and begin to put up your hand and to say, I do not have a pen, I wish to borrow, or my pen is over, or my pen has leaked. That may not be allowed. So it is important that you have your equipment ready and in order. Check, do you have at least 2 pens? So that if one decides that it is not going to work or decides to leak, then you at least have another one you can fall back to. If you require a book, you should be having it. If you require a ruler, you should be having it. If you require a calculator, then you should have the calculator. It is important that you check. Among the exam equipment that you will require is your identity card, your university identity card. It is one of the documents that will be used to confirm that you are who you are as you sit for that exam. So it is something that you should not leave behind. It is something that you should take care of and not place it carelessly anywhere, because it will be required at that point of the exam. Sometimes we require examination cards, and if that is a requirement, then you should also have your examination card ready. Number 3, the night before, review your key summaries. Remember, when you are reading, you are also making some brief notes. The night before is not the time to collect a number of books and place them before you. If you do that, what will happen is that your mind will shut down. That will be too much pressure. You either develop a headache or you simply shut down. You begin to sleep and you actually lose focus. And then your exam anxiety the next day will be very high. So it is important that you have been reading before the night before. So at the night before, you're only reading the summarized key points, and which I'm sure you may have written on the edges of your book, or you have created a column where you're writing your key summaries. It is important also that you have a good rest. Sometimes students think that the night before is the night to read everything that they have not read. And so they will put their legs in the basin with cold water, put a towel on the head so that they are not sleeping. But the truth is, you are only straining yourself, and you will not have the ability to remember the next day. If you remember, when we were looking at study skills, we said it is easy for you to remember what you read in a newspaper. Because when you're reading a newspaper, let us say about a favorite column of yours or a football team, you are able to remember easily because you were not under any pressure. And the same should happen with your revision. You should revise without any pressure. But anytime you find yourself revising with pressure, there is likelihood that you will forget. That is what they call cramming. Cramming results in a lot of forgetfulness. It results in a headache, and you will not be able to perform well. So the night before is not the time to read a lot. It's the time to take a rest and be prepared for what is going to happen the next day. Now we have arrived in the examination day. Today is the examination day, so we have arrived. It is important for you to arrive at the venue in good time. I've already told you that there are rules and regulations about your arrival and your presence in the exam room. The lecturer will be able to check, organize your seating arrangement. So arriving late is something that will obviously be noted by your lecturer. So ensure that you are there in good time. Find yourself a spot and sit. Organize your equipment. Make sure that you know clearly your course content and how and which equipment are required. So ensure that you have them. You can see your pens. If you need a calculator, you have it. If you need, of course, you'll need pens. You'll have them. And if you need a pencil, you have your pencil. Ensure you have your university identity card. If not, then your actual identity card. The third thing you need to do is you will receive your paper. You receive first the answer booklet. Read the instructions on the answer booklet. Our answer booklet has instructions for you. One of the instructions that you need to put into consideration is that you should not write your name anywhere on the answer booklet. That means that you remain anonymous. If anyone wanted to judge you or to mark you according to your appearance, they will not know you. They will only see your registration number. So look at those points as I get a booklet so that I can be able to read for you some of the instructions that you require as you undertake the exam. Just give me a few seconds and I'll be back. So I know that you have not had an opportunity to handle any examination answer book, but it has 12 instructions to candidates. And I want you to listen to them. I know you'll find them when you'll be given your paper. Number one, write your registration number in the spaces shown above. There are spaces in the answer book where you need to write your registration number. Ensure you do that. The reason why you need to do that is that when it will come to the entry of marks in the ERP, then your lecturer will use your registration number. So should you forget, then you are likely to have missing marks. I know missing marks is something that people fear, and everybody should fear them. But sometimes students bring it upon themselves to end up with missing marks. The first thing you do once you get your answer book is to begin by writing your registration number in the spaces that will be indicated on every page of that answer book. Then you're told to write on both sides of the page. Some students are very careless. They only want to write, want to write sketchy information. And so they only write jumping from one page to another. You need to write on both sides of the page. Begin each answer on a fresh page. Write the number of each question at the top of each page. All rough work must be done in the answer book and crossed through. So once you get to the questions, you have read the questions, you have selected the questions, and you realize that you have certain ideas which you can use to answer the question. Then on the last page of your answer book, that is where you write your rough work. And once you're done with that, then you cross it through to show the person marking that you do not intend that work to be marked. It was part of your rough work. Then number 8, it says, under no circumstances must answer booklets used or unused be removed from the examination room by candidates. Those are examination instructions. You must never leave. Whether the exam is difficult or easy, whether you were given 2 booklets or you're given 3, it is important for you to note that you cannot take out of the room an examination booklet. If you do that, it is punishable. Number 11, instruction number 11 says, mobile phones are not permitted in the examination room. My students, I want to encourage you not to carry your phones into the examination room. You can leave them in your room. You can put them aside in your bag and hang them away from yourself. Put them on silent mode. Ensure that they are not distracting you. Students who have not followed this kind of instruction have ended up serving 1 year out, because that phone can be used to carry notes. We do online teaching, therefore our notes are on the online platform. You can be able to access them on your phone at any point once you have internet. So the phone therefore becomes an object of carrying information. So you are not allowed to carry it into the exam room. And should you carry it there and you are found, then the phone will be confiscated. It will become an object of as a witness against you, and you will suffer 1 year out of Kibabi University for carrying your phone into the exam room. So ensure that you do not do any of these that are written on the instruction, under the instructions on the exam answer booklet. Then we're saying number 3, select questions and make outlines. Allocate time depending on marks. Each of the questions that you'll come across will have marks. The more the marks, the more time is required, and the more the writing that is required. A question has 1 mark. You cannot write half a page just to score 1 mark. A question has 10 marks. You cannot write 3 sketchy answers and get 10 marks. So you must respond in accordance to the marks. The more the marks, the more the information. The less the marks, the less the information. And where the instructive verbs, the directive verb requires that you give details, then you must be able to do that. Otherwise, you will not score the full mark. Then we're saying write legibly, concisely, and accurately. Rule number 9 says that candidates are warned that importance is attached by the examiners to accuracy and clarity of expression. So you need to be clear in your thought. You need to think about your answer, be clear, and then write it legibly in a manner that can be read. Your lecturer will not look for you to interpret your answer. They do not have that time. They do not have that luxury. So it is important that you write legibly, concisely, and accurately. Desist from crossing out, rubbing, and just putting a lot of information that may not be required. Think before you write down information. It is important for you to proofread your answers so that you can make additions if possible, and you can solidify your answer. Very importantly, answer the right number of questions, not more, not less. Usually the question paper will have instructions. I've been reading for you the instructions on the examination answer booklet, but the question paper will also have instructions. One of the regular ways in which this instruction goes is like this, that answer question 1, or question 1 is compulsory. Answer 2 other questions. Answer question 1 and 2 other questions. When you add up the marks for question 1 and 2 other questions, they will give you 70 marks. So if you find yourself answering question 1 alone, and perhaps question 1 and 1 other question, then you are operating within the confines of 50 marks. So you're beginning to operate within 50 marks. And if you will not score all the 50, then you are in trouble. So it is important that you answer the questions that are required, the right number of questions. Do not even answer more. There is no mark, there is no extra mark given for answering extra what you are not required to answer. For example, you answer the compulsory question and you answer 3 other questions because you feel that you know what needs to be answered. You will not be given any extra mark. Your lecturer will mark up to where they require to mark, and they will leave out the rest. So do not waste your time answering what does not add value to you. So I want you to be very keen about these instructions, because on the examination day, that is the day you are putting down your information, you're showing your knowledge, you are expressing yourself, it is important that you are heard or read, and that you're given favorable feedback. It is important that you are able to interpret the examination question. Every examination question has the following three parts. It has the directive verb or verbs, it has content words, and it has functional words. These are aspects which we looked at when we were looking at writing. And we said we need to interpret the topic we are writing about or we are responding to. Also, when it comes to the examination, we need to understand the requirements of every question. And the requirements begin from the directive verb. This is the verb that directs you on what to do with the subject of the question. These are verbs like identify, discuss, list, extrapolate, factorize, label, compare and contrast. Those are the kind of verbs that you need to be very keen about. And I remember asking you to get back to our notes on the e-learning platform and write down those verbs and their meanings, because that is information you'll work with throughout your academic life, either as an undergraduate or a postgraduate. You must be able to understand the directive verb. If you do not understand the directive verb, your response will either be irrelevant or your response will miss the target. For example, the lecturer is saying, identify, or he's saying discuss the importance of water in the human body system. And then you decide to list. You will not score as well as someone who has discussed. Because when you get into discussing, you're providing details. When you're listing, you're providing sketchy points and sketchy information. Then number two are the content words. The content words are the words that indicate the subject matter you need to handle. For example, discuss the importance of water. We are looking at water. So water becomes our subject and the importance, because we do not want to look at the irrelevance of water. We want to look at the importance of water. So importance of water becomes our content, or they become our content words. They are the words that help us to be able to deal with this question. If you end up discussing the importance of food, you will have missed the point. If you decide to discuss the importance of wind, for example, you will have missed the point. So you need to be able to understand the content or the subject matter that you're handling in that question. Then thirdly are functional words. These are words that limit the scope of the answers. They help you to handle or to deal with the question in a certain organized way. For example, discuss the importance of water in the human body. We are looking at the importance. We are looking at water. We are looking at it in the human body. So the words that help you to be able to give the correct answer are what we are calling the functional words. We don't want to look at the importance of water in animal life or in plant life. We want to look at it in terms of human body. So once you do that, once you are able to look at, to identify all these three aspects of a question, then you are on your way to providing the answer. I usually encourage my students to underline the directive verb, identify the directive verb, identify the content words, identify the functional words. Once you have all that in your mind, then you can be able to discuss, or you can be able to handle the question. Now, students, I've given you an example there of a question. Identify the factors that lead to persistent drought in the northern counties of Kenya. I want you to go to the chart and I want you to give me the directive verb. I want you to give me the directive verb. Directive verb. I see a lot of you getting it. It is identify. You are right. Now, I want you to help me see. Someone is saying identify the factors. The factors are not the directive verb. The verb is just a verb. A verb is a doing word. So identify is our directive verb. Now I want us to look at the content words. Help me get the content words. What are we going to be handling? What are we going to be identifying? Someone is saying drought. No, it's not drought. I can see a lot of you saying factors. It's not just a single word. The content words will be the factors that lead to persistent drought. We want to address ourselves to factors that lead to persistent drought. Factors that lead to persistent drought. And what are the functional words? The functional words. Functional words. I can see people saying northern counties of Kenya. That is right. So there could be persistent drought elsewhere, but we want to focus on the northern counties of Kenya. The northern counties of Kenya becomes our answer. So once you have identified the directive verb, usually it will be one. You have identified the content words or the subject matter. Then you have identified the functional words, the words that limit you. Then you will be on your way to giving the correct answer. Because, for example, you look at the factors. You will look at northern counties of Kenya. You look at persistent drought. You're not looking at anything else. It is about the persistent drought. So it is important that you have an idea of how to interpret, analyze an exam question. And when you do that, every time you have a question before you, begin by identifying, underline the verb, the directive verb, underline the content, look at the limitations. What are the functional words? Where are you supposed to delimit yourself? And putting that together, then you can be able to handle the question. Now, students, I want to bring this course to an end. Our last topic has been examination skills. And I said that we are looking at examination skills because we are preparing ourselves for January 2024, God giving us life. We'll be having our end of semester exam, end of semester KUC111 examination. It will not be an online examination. It will be a physical examination. What that means is that you will be able to get your paper, your exam booklet, you will get your question paper, and you will sit in an environment, a controlled environment. I know when you'll be undertaking your Cat 2 tomorrow, you can undertake it from anywhere, from the tree, from under the trees, from the corridors, from your bed. But the exam that you'll be doing at the beginning of next year will be in a controlled environment. You will be in a room, a well-arranged room. You'll be allowed in by security. The rooms will most likely have CCTV cameras. The rooms will have invigilators. It will be a controlled environment. The intention is to help you feel secure as you give your answers, and also expect at the end of it a good feedback for your performance. So as you prepare yourself, as you go home, do not over Christmas, do not overeat and forget, do not over celebrate and forget. You have examinations at the beginning of next year, and those examinations you need to perform very well, because your success or failure in your work is determined by your ability to perform well in your exams. You'll be judged by how you perform in your exams. But you already are beginning to prepare yourself. If you have been attending your lectures, if you have been undertaking your cards, if you have been working together with someone in a group, then you are on your way. You have downloaded your notes, you have written them down, you have looked at them, you have looked for books in the library, then you are on your way to preparing yourself adequately for the exam. So my announcements still remain that CAT 2 will be tomorrow, 5 to 6. It will be an online CAT. You will be required to log in. It is located at the end of this topic of examination skills. You'll find the exam at the end of that topic. Make sure that your phone is in good condition. No excuses about your phone had problems or issues, or you are unwell or something like that. You need to pull yourself up and do the exam. Ensure you have stable internet so that you will have no excuse of not being able to undertake the exam. The time when this exam is scheduled is time when the internet is stable on the compound of Kibabi University. So if you can, be around the university to undertake your exam. Should you have left, then ensure that you have stable Wi-Fi. No excuses will be taken because no makeup cut will be given. Lastly, no end of semester results will be given without cut marks. Cuts are not given every day. So that means at the end of your first year, you will wait until your colleagues who will come in undertake their course. Exams, cuts are announced, you do with them. Until you get your results is when that will be joined together with end of semester results. And then, only then can you proceed to second year. So the system is such that you will not be able to log yourself into second year. You cannot sleep or force yourself into second year. You will not do that until you have satisfied the condition of having cut marks and examination marks. So with that, I want to wish you well as you go on for your Christmas. I want to wish you well and to ask you to use that time as well to revisit the notes. And I want to also encourage you that as you go on with your academic life in Kibabi University, make use of this content you have learned. Make use of the study skills, make use of the listening skills, reading skills, make use of the library skills, make use of the examination skills, make use of these skills because they will help you. Someone is asking which topics will be covered in the CAT. We'll cover all the other topics we have not covered, beginning from the examination skills, library skills, documenting sources, and I think writing skills. So those are the skills that will be handled. So thank you all those that are telling me Merry Christmas. I also want to wish you Merry Christmas. I'm going to open the notes in a few minutes. The notes on examination skills will be available, and all other notes are also available. And at the end of the course, please do an evaluation of this course. You'll find some information there that says evaluate the course. So please also go ahead and evaluate. Thank you. There are those who are telling me they love me. I love you right back. And I wish you all the best as you continue.
Hello, Doc.
Yes.
Maybe just before you finish, I can see there are some hands raised. I don't know, maybe
those ones,
if you can unmute them, maybe just to hear from them.
Please help me unmute.
Okay. I think there is someone called Mrs. There are several hands raised actually.
Thank you. Hamilton, I have a question. On our portal tomorrow, it is indicated that the cut will be done in groups. Then the group leader to submit. So how are we going to do it in groups and currently in different geographical locations? Doc, please.
We just
the technical staff, the lecturer, under topic 10, academics. About assessment you get, but when
Mimi sitaki makelele bwana. Kama hamna point ya kusema
ndio kama hawana point ya kusema nyamaze bwana.
hiyo kati sio ya group, ni individual.
Unaandika group na unasema hapo individual.
I want to say this that the cut is individual. We are going to relook those instructions. The cut is individual.
The
cut is individual. It's
Thank you, madam.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, doctor.